that work on the warrant side was a little bit different. It wasn't always hard, but it was a challenge. And I think that's where I excelled in the military, is that I was able to always challenge myself, always look for that next challenge.
This is Charlie Mike, the podcast. Veterans helping veterans, talking about things happening in the veteran community, things we've experienced and overcome, such as addictions, PTSD, depression, legal trouble. And we also promote veteran-owned businesses. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. This is Charlie Mike, the podcast.
I got what you said. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Charlie Mike, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul, and your co-host is William.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Sorry it's dark. My lighting technician is not up to speed yet.
My bad, princess. God, man, you just can't be happy with nothing, bro.
And man, you know what? I'm constantly going to push us to be better.
Yeah, but
I know you can be.
I did everything. I got you your own camera so you could stop complaining. I did, you know what I'm saying? I just don't understand.
I got my own camera.
Yeah, man,
Feels good though, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So what's going on, man?
Yo, life is good. Let's see. We've just been rolling this studio, man. I can't believe all this has happened within the last month. Doing updates, getting out to different events. It's a blessing, man. It feels so good to Charlie Mike, and to hear folks using that terminology more and more. I've had different people ask me what it means, and they're like, "Man, I like that." Oh man, it's the phonetic alphabet. I'm like, "That's right. This is what we do."
Yeah, I've actually heard it used a few times, and you know, I mean, I've heard it used before, but just recently from people non-military related, and it's like, that's dope.
Yeah. Let's change it. Let's get it growing.
Yeah, man. So what's up, bro?
Man, not a whole lot. I wanted to take the time to introduce our guest today, Mr. Andrew. I've met him, man, not that long ago. I would say within the last 6 months, and just been able to connect and find ways to be involved from the Pearland area, which is where our studio is from. That's right. We're coming to you live from the Pearland podcast studio. Feels great to be here. And just met through a mutual contact, out networking and stuff, and just really connected. And so I wanted to make sure, I mean, I know you did too, to come on and share that stories about how do we continue mission? How do we find a way after the service? And you're pretty freshly out, correct?
Yeah. I just retired in August of 22, so
right,
a little bit less than 6 months.
Man, that's crazy. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like a high level view? So how long did you do total?
Yeah, so I did 20 years in service. I graduated high school in 2002, and right after 9/11 happened, and went into the service. Did 20 years. Did a lot of things while I was in, and it gave me a lot of good opportunities to excel and learn about myself, and actually push myself to be better than I was. So I liked it.
Yeah. So what drew you into the service?
Yeah, so I think initially when 9/11 happened, it was a big deal for me, and it was
it's pretty fresh. You said 2022, so
yeah. So I watched it happen while I was in high school, and it was almost immediately after that I went and signed up. But to be honest, I was a little bit hesitant at first. I didn't really want to do the Army or any service really. So I had a couple of recruiters that would, they'd come up to me and they'd ask me, hey, what do you think about joining the Army? And I'd be like, hey, man, get out of my face. I don't want to hear anything about that. I don't want nothing to do with that, right? And then one day it just went off. It was just like, man, I was like, I didn't really have a whole lot going on for me. I didn't have any way to go to college, or, I didn't have any aspirations to have some big career dreams. So I took it upon myself to join the service.
Man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you did mention 9/11, and you said, so you remember where you were doing all that? Like what class were you in?
Oh, yeah. So I think the initial plane hit as I was switching classes, and the class that I was going into was my government class. Yeah. So it just happened to be like, involved, and coincidence that it was that government class where they turned the TV on, and we were able to see the repercussions from the first hit. and all the live news coverage, and then the second plane hit while we were, watching it live on TV like everybody else. But this is a room full of high school students, and we're having discussions about it. But at the time, we knew it was a big deal, but we didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be until later on down the road.
Mm.
Yeah, it definitely life changing event.
Yeah.
I think we discussed where we were at
Yeah, I feel like hopefully those vets that are listening now that may not know what it was like can get from our experiences. Probably a lot younger too, but all of us high school age, right around that time, teens, fresh 20s.
Yeah.
We're all retiring and getting out now.
It's
And doing
crazy,
our
ain't
thing.
it? Like people joining the military right now that have no or weren't born when that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just, I mean, I think about this. I think about this a lot. I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I was reading some negative stuff on social media.
Yeah.
You know how people can be real negative about everything, regardless of what the situation is. So I was like, man, I wish it was like the day after. You know how the day after an event happens, a disaster, a
Mhm.
flood, a terrorist attack, the way everybody comes together, and it's
Yeah.
more like when Harvey happened, all that bonding and everything. Everybody came out for everyone, regardless of what race, color, gender. Didn't matter. Dog, cat.
yeah.
I miss that.
I don't think there's enough time anymore. Everything's sped up for us, all of us, as far as being able to digest what actually happened and say, "Hey, I'm actually here for you," rather than, "Oh, let me get that next headline out there or make that next thing." It's like moving on, and it's like, "Well, let's identify this person, and this is what this is what we told you. This is all the issues," and it's like, "Whoa, let's just let's embrace the fact that it happened, and let's support one another rather than pointing blame."
But my thing is like, why does it take something like that for us to come together and be people like that? And I'm not talking about like veterans or
Yeah.
I'm talking about in general as a community, like when Harvey happened, or when Ike happened, or even Katrina, when the city of Houston took in all those people from New Orleans. Those are the big events that happen that bring people together, but it shouldn't always be like that. And I think that's where we need to get better as people, and looking at how I can support somebody else or you can support somebody else
Mm.
throughout everyday life. And I think you guys are doing that right now with this podcast and the things you're doing with your mission.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
man. A lot. I think people forget that we're all human, man. That we're all
Yeah.
children of God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. People
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah, and I think that's why we bring it up a lot. I think that's why we want folks to remember what it was like when 9/11 happened, because for a lot of us, that's what drew us to the service.
Yeah.
You feel this higher calling, like, I got to do more for my country. I'm stuck at home. I don't have a plan for my life. Let me go be of service of something. And then that's the mission that I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Go find yourself through service. And for us as veterans, it's like, where can I serve, or where is there a need again? Because you lose that sense of mission. And so what I hear you saying too is after 9/11, you were kind of that same transition, right? But not as extreme, like out of college or out of high school, trying to figure out what the heck do I want to do. And then just emotion of 9/11 weighing on you, like, okay, maybe it's time for me to give it a shot.
Yeah. And I think it took some time. It took some time for me to actually digest that and see where we were going with it. And I was like, man, it's like I can't sit by. And it's funny because nowadays I'm the same way. That led into a lot of the ways that I live my life today, is that you can sit around and complain and you know moan about things, or you can get off your couch and do something about it and be part of a solution.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I was at, and I needed to see that, and it needed to take time to realize that for myself before I could actually put those shoes on and do that.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was dope.
So tell us a little bit about your career. You spent over 20 years in the military. I mean, there's got to be some phenomenal memories through that. Of course, started off enlisted, and then you finished out as a warrant, correct?
Yeah. So I did 10 years on the enlisted side, and I did 10 years on the warrant side. So I kind of split my career
10
right
years
down.
hard time.
Yeah. So you did 10 years of work and then you just chilled for 10 years. Huh?
Look, I'll tell you that work on the warrant side was a little bit different. It wasn't always hard, but it was a challenge. And I think that's where I excelled in the military, is that I was able to always challenge myself, always look for that next challenge. So initially, I started out as a Seaburn guy, chemical operations. So
Mhm.
dealing with the pro masks and going through the gas chamber and running the gas chamber, being there for 8 hours at a time, 10 hours at a time.
Yeah.
that was
Dang.
that was intense, but you kind of get used to that stuff. It of course it sucks, but
Yeah.
Man, can you
you get
imagine
used
having
to that
phones
stuff.
back then and all the video you would have? You'd be TikTok crazy right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we didn't
That's
have.
what you put it together as.
Bro, for real. That's how I was thinking about it.
Man, I entered with a Nokia brick
Yeah.
phone, and I came out, with an iPhone, after we left the service. So it's funny to see that technology advance that much in that time frame. And then I sit back and I reflect on my time, and I'm like, man, I look at pictures when I was in high school, and I'm like, man, you're a different guy. You're a different guy. So yeah, I started out enlisted. I did 10 years. I was in a lot of different places. Fort Bliss was my initial duty station. Went to Kuwait with them for the very first rotation in overnight OIF. But there were some hiccups. We didn't get there in time of where we wanted to be. I was in an air defense unit, so by the time we got rerouted, because we were supposed to go through Turkey, so we were supposed to be part of Fort ID and go down through Turkey, and hit from the north. But that didn't happen. Turkey didn't want anything to do with Americans coming across their border. So they kind of canceled that part, right? And we had
Yeah.
to get rerouted and come back out through the south through Kuwait. And by the time we got there, man, the air war was over. It was done with that portion. So we sat there for a couple months. We came home, and then I just was trying to learn about how to be a soldier, how to live my life, and be a soldier. And things kind of took off from there. I got restationed to Fort Campbell. Went over there, and I kind of put my hua hat on, right?
Yeah.
So I figured out what the 101 was about. I
Yeah.
did the whole air assault school and all those things, and
The 10 hardest days in the military.
yeah,
Air assault.
yeah. It's funny too, because every time I've done anything that was a challenge or a school of some sort or any of those things, right, that you feel like is going to be really, really physically demanding and hard for you in the military, it was always in the winter.
Oh,
I went
yeah.
through I went through PLDC in the winter, Step Outside in Fort Campbell in the winter, went through aerosol school in the winter. So it was always about that. Went through SEER school in the winter, got in the water in the winter. It was I guess I was just born to do those dumb things in the coldest way possible.
How can I get a little more hua? I'll go in the winter.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. So, I did about 5 years at Fort Campbell, and then did a deployment with them, helped them stand up a unit over there, using my knowledge, and then moved on to they put me on DA select orders and went out down to Fort Benning and became a drill sergeant for a few years.
Dang.
Oh, that's what's
So
up. Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty good. Met a lot of great people. I worked with a lot of great people at that time, and the reason why I say that is because it was all NCOs that I worked with.
Oh,
There
yeah.
wasn't there wasn't a single.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Joes. They were all
Right.
brand new recruits, but it was all NCOs.
Mm.
So you had that expectation from each other, where, hey, you said you were going to do this part, and I'm going to do this part. Well, I'm dependent on you, and I knew you were going to do it because you were, an NCO with me. So made things a lot easier.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for 2 years.
2 years?
Dang.
2 years.
You remember the years?
It was 2009 to 2011.
Oh, shit.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of a lot of when we had Sergeant Cruz on, my old platoon sergeant down
Yeah.
at the cadre and Fort Sam. That plays a lot into that, and we talk about that. Like, that was the best time I had, but it's because we're all NCOs. We're all like not grown men, because I was a freaking kid then till 28.
Yeah.
I'm still barely growing up.
Bro, I barely grew up like last year, man.
I'm still learning
And
how
I'm
to grow
40,
up.
bro.
Yeah, but
I
again,
just
it's like,
figured this shit out.
Yeah.
that's interesting. I never really thought of it that way, and I got a little more respect now. That makes a lot of sense. Especially when you come back into the line units and you've got this higher standard of
Yeah.
other NCOs. Like, you said you were going to do this, and you're not. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how this works.
Yeah, no, it's a different type of NCO. And like with anything, with any population, with anything you do, there's always gonna be those ones that are, not living up, not pulling their weight, right? Not
Yeah.
not living up to what they
Shit.
said they were gonna do. And, we even had that too, down there on the trail in Fort Benning. We had guys that, sometimes they wouldn't do everything they said they were gonna do or whatever. No big deal. But we always picked up the slack. And, the thing about whenever we did, any training over there, it was such a well-oiled machine that we would have a meeting in the morning before anything happened, right? And I knew, William, your job from 5 to 5:15 was to do this. And Raul, you would take over at 5:15 and take them to this location at 5:45. And Andrew, you'd hit them up right after that at 5:45. And everyone knew where everyone was going to be at for every minute of the day. So
Dang.
it was like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So you
But
know a lot about like time management and being on time, and more so than that, just like how do we make these time hacks? That's pretty interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Man, I couldn't shoot. Just the level of recruits. Man, did you do a lot of like getting in that ass? Like,
Yeah. So
well, that's a different term. It's not
Yeah.
what y'all think.
yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. I mean, you know what? I got to think about it like this. It's almost like an act because I didn't have any real anger or
Yeah.
real feelings towards the recruits or
Right.
towards the troops or any of those guys, right? So it was always like an act. Of course, yeah. Can you be mean? Sure, anybody can be mean. It's very easy to be a mean person, right?
Yeah.
But that's not who I really was. Like I was trying to teach them how to do something. Of course, they don't really know or don't do it right in the right amount of time. So of course you gotta put that face on and put that hat on.
Like
And,
a lot of times, I know you saw some dumb stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how did you stop from laughing or like something like that, man?
So
Like,
that was always a thing. There was always someone who was going to be upfront and was going to be like kind of leading everything, right? Like I said, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Everyone was there at the time, but it was Raul's responsibility that from this time to this time. And you may be up there cracking a joke, and I'm in the back just laughing, dying because these dumb kids are doing dumb stuff, and I'm just cracking up. It's hard. It really is hard. Like you said earlier, it's real hard to sit behind and watch this stuff and try not to laugh and break character. That's how I kind of look at it. You can't break character.
It's
Man.
like, hey, he's ready
Can't
for
break
like
character.
we gotta introduce you to Rocco. He's ready for a life of acting.
Oh man, that's a good point. And he was a drill too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So it was a lot like that. Yeah. And then so after that was done, I finished that duty up and I went down to Fort Bragg, did a deployment with them. So I did a total of 4 combat deployments in total, and then 1 rotation to Korea. So, and that was while I was a warrant officer at that time. So I led a platoon in Afghanistan for the 82nd when I was there. That was a good time. I learned a lot. I came out with that stature of having that drill sergeant badge and having that mantra, and I think that carried a lot of weight in itself.
Yeah.
And then a lot of soldiers, they looked at me and they're like, "Man, I don't want anything to do with him. My NCOs, my subordinate NCOs, I don't want anything to do with that." And it was hard.
Yeah.
It's hard standing up there on the hill, right? It's hard standing up there on the top whenever you can't always connect with these people they don't want to be connected with because they have that image of you, and that's all they see. They can't see past that. And so that was a little bit of a challenge. I did have a lot of soldiers and I did have a lot of NCOs that I worked with. But it taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about how to manipulate that and maneuver through those waters. And that was really, really good for me.
Man, when people ask me about like my military experience, man, I always say the same thing. It's like, hey, it was some of the best and worst times of my life, man.
Yeah.
like I wouldn't trade, everything made me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, shit, I ain't gonna go there. Never mind. I was gonna say, I spooned with a man.
Man, you say that, and that's the life, though, man. That's the life. That's how it really is.
Yeah.
Like, when you have to. I told you I went through everything in the cold weather time, and I'm not joking, man. Like I'm talking about sleet, rain, snow, like on top of you while you're. Man, they lost our. They didn't lose. They didn't. The truck couldn't make it out to the bivouac site when we were in PLDC out of Fort Campbell, right? And I mean, it was cold and raining and just brutal. The only thing we packed in our rucksacks was the bivvy cover to the sleep system. That's all we had. in our
Dang.
rucksacks. They're like, yeah, put all y'all's the rest of your sleep system in these 6 duffel bags. We're gonna truck them out for you guys. So you don't have to carry them. Okay. Rain. Couldn't get the truck out there. Couldn't get out there to the site. So there we are.
Was that intentionally done?
I don't know, man. I really don't know if it was intentionally done or if it was
Yeah.
unintentionally done.
Yeah, and
I never really found out, but
Uh,
we're there and it's 50% security all night
oh yeah.
after walking all day, you know?
And if you don't know what PLDC is, was before BLC and WLC,
WLC,
right?
yeah,
Which is
yeah.
professional leadership development course, the warrior leader course, or the basic leader course, which is the step before you become an E5 or
Mhm.
NCO.
Yeah, sorry. I'm showing my age a
It's
little
all
bit
good,
on that
bro.
one, man, because it was
No, it's good.
some time ago.
I got to remember too, like, in case there's that one person out there that's like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
PLDC is that
Yeah,
NCO
it's
school.
WLC back then, back in the
What
day.
what made you want to switch over, man, from enlisted to officer?
So, like I said, I was always looking for that next challenge. I was always looking how to push myself better and be bigger and be better and, do that next step. And I got to a point in my enlisted career where I was looking around and it wasn't going to go where I thought it was going to go. And not for any fault of my own. In that field, in the Seaburn field, there's like one sergeant major.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
3 E8s.
Yeah.
And then like, probably 2 dozen E7s.
Wait. You say like per?
In
No.
the entire
In the
field.
entire field.
Oh no
Yeah.
shit.
In the entire army.
Okay.
Yeah. And I may be misspoken a little bit.
Yeah,
There may
yeah.
be a few more.
Yeah.
But that's how it was perceived to me. Is that I was like, if I ever wanted to put on
They had maxed out points and everything.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, man. So whenever I made staff sergeant, it was a struggle, man.
Yeah.
Like I think it was 723 when I finally made it, and I had 738.
Oh shit. Yeah.
That's what I was carrying for a long time, and
Yeah.
it's 799 was max back then,
Right.
And it's sat at 799, 799.
Is it changed now? It's not 7-9.
No, yeah, they changed it.
The point
Oh,
system is
I
different.
have no idea.
Oh, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Shit.
They've changed.
Oh
it.
yeah, you ain't worried about that no more. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They've changed it.
you say that, man, but it kind of came back full circle, down the road. Like I was able to do more as a warrant officer in terms of leadership and affect more enlisted soldiers at the end than I would have been able to do had I stayed enlisted. So, I got to the end of where I thought that would go for me. I was a staff sergeant. I had made the board. I was getting ready to pin E7. But at the same time, I put in my packet for flight school because I was like, I got to do something different. I can't remain a star in first class for the next 10 years, or spend 10 years trying to make the 3, 4, 5, 6 E8 slots that they have. I was like, I can't do that, man. Like it's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't think I could do it. I just didn't want to spend that much time doing it, and that's the honest truth. So I put in my flight packet, and it was crazy because I was mid tour on R&R from Afghanistan on my first Afghanistan tour, and I'm on mid tour. I'm out walking the dog in the morning, and I get a bunch of text messages like, "Hey, congratulations, congratulations!" I'm like, "What's going on?" So I look, and they're like, "Oh, cool, man! I made the E7 list. Sweet." Here I am, like on cloud nine. Like, yeah, man, that's good. But I got this other packet in too. So I'm like, man, I don't know when those results come out. Next day, out walking the dog, get another text message. Hey, congratulations. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Carry over from yesterday. No big deal. And then later on in the evening, I'm like, man, let me check this thing out. Let me see what's going on with this board results. And I made that board too.
Oh shit.
So it was like 1 day separation.
Yeah.
Where I made, the Sergeant First Class list, and then I had made the warrant officer list to go to flight school.
Shit, I would have walked the dog the next day too, bro. Same time.
What's
everything.
happening? I don't know what's going on, but something good is going to happen.
I'm telling you,
I
man.
love this dog.
Yeah, so it was crazy because that's the exact story. That's how it happened. And I was like, man, this is really happening to me. So I go back to Afghanistan. I start getting stuff ready, and they're like, hey, you need to start packing your stuff because you're gonna head back. And I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to head back. Like, you're gonna head back to go to flight school. And I'm like, no, I want to stay.
Yeah.
So, in my heart, I wanted to stay.
Yeah.
I brought these, 25 soldiers or whatever it was, 22, 25 soldiers over to Afghanistan. and I wanted to bring them home, and that really made a lot of sense to me, and that's where my heart really was. And I was essentially told, like forced told, like, no, you are leaving. Here is your ticket home. Bye. And it hurt a lot because I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, man, I was like,
Mhm.
I didn't want to do that. That
Yeah.
wasn't me. That's never who I was. I was never one of those people to be like, yeah, no, all right, time to dip out. No, that's not me. So so I wound up leaving. And one of my friends, one of my best friends, while we were there, we go to chow to and from. You know how it is. You go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you go,
yeah.
yeah,
You
hey
got
man, y'all ready to go to chow? Yeah, yeah. You got that one dude. It's always like, yeah, let's go. Let's go, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
that's why it means so much to me when we don't go to chow together.
yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
Because you
Feel like
always
you
make me
left me
pay,
behind.
bro.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, you're good. So
Fre-
me and Matt, we'd go to chow all the time. Every day. Go to chow. Even if it was busy, we'd just go there, pick it up, walk back. And it was about 10 days after I'd left. He's walking to chow, or he was walking back, I would say, and a V bid hit the side of the fob where we were located at. And he took some shrapnel to his foot.
Fuck out of here.
No, man.
Wow.
So that is like, that's God's work right there, man.
Mm.
Like that's
That, that
intentionally someone put me in a position to where I wasn't there.
that fuck you up a little bit though?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. I mean, I think that's safe to say with anybody.
How's
Yeah.
Matt?
He's good. He's
Yeah.
good now. Yeah, he lost part of his heel bone, and
Whoa.
they had to put an implant and everything. But he's actually back up and moving around, walking around, running.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you got to look back and you're like, man, I
Wasn't that meant to
wasn't
be?
I wasn't
Mhm.
meant to be there, right?
Yeah.
And if I was, then I wouldn't be here.
Right,
Could-
right, right.
could be,
So
yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, things progressed on. I left there. I went to flight school. That was a challenge in itself.
Well, I'm sure the number one question that everybody asks is, "Would you fly?"
64s, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's always the thing. It's everyone always asks that. Oh yeah, what'd you do in the military? Be like, oh yeah, I was a pilot. And they'll be like, oh okay, cool, cool. What'd you fly? And I'll be like, Apaches. And they're like, what? You did what? What do you mean you did? I was like, yeah. And to me, like, it's, yeah, man, it's cool. It's cool, man.
Yeah.
But, you kind of, you get used to it, right? With anything, like,
Yeah.
when people meet you, they don't really know that. I don't tell people, I don't go out and I broadcast that to everybody, right? I'm just who I am. I'm Andrew. I'm who I'm going to be. I'm doing what I want to do. Trying to help as many people as I can along the way. But I'm not out here to toot my own horn or be one of those guys like, hell yeah, man, this is what I did, and live by that, because what I did yesterday means nothing today.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Yeah. I like that, man.
And I'm not saying it because I don't care about how
Yeah.
I did in my service. Of course, I'm proud of that. I'm 100% proud of that.
We got to introduce him to Dave. They talk airplanes.
Oh yeah. I think he flew. I think he flew Apaches too.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave
From the
who's that?
chamber.
Oh yeah, Weaver.
Dave Weaver. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard his name a couple times. I haven't
Yeah.
had a chance to talk to him.
He's a good dude, man. Yeah, he's
He's
good
all
dude.
right.
Yeah, he's a lot, but he's a good dude.
I love.
and
I do love Dave, man.
Yeah.
Dave is a phenomenal person.
We get that mantra though. We get that stank on us as Apache pilots, that we're like that. But I try not to be. I try
Yeah.
not to be one of those guys.
That's cool. So how long did you end up flying for?
So I flew for the last 10 years. So
Dang.
I went to flight school in 2012, and then I retired in 2022. So
2022.
yeah, so 10 years. So I split it pretty much down the middle, almost to the day. It was like 9 years and 11 months of flying, and 10 years and 1 month of enlisted. Like, that was the split. So I just call it 10 and 10.
So you're originally from Alvin?
Yeah, I grew up right here in Alvin, just down the road from the studio here.
So when you got out, was there any other choice besides going back to the house, or did you think about because I remember when I enlisted, I said I'm never going back to Pearland, and then when I was getting out, I was like, man, I just want to go back to Pearland. You know what I mean? So was that ever a question?
Yeah, of course. I think it's a realization once you get down to the end, and you're at the point where you can make that decision for yourself. Because for 20 years I was told, someone told me where to go, what to put on, and how to act, and what to eat. You know what I mean? So, when I came down to that decision of what am I going to do next, I'll be honest, I started planning for this probably right as I was leaving Korea, which was in 2020.
Okay.
I started planning for retirement
That's good.
because I had seen so many people, so many guys that I knew. They would get out and they'd be like, "Oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do," or "Oh man, I'll just go back home and work on the farm," or "I'll go back home and my mom's got a couch for me," or whatever. And that was never going to be the case for me.
Yeah.
I'd come too far. I had done too much. I'm never taking a step backwards, and that's how I live my life. Like I'm never taking a step backwards. It's always moving forward for me. So coming back here is it's not a step backwards for me. It's
Mhm.
never going to be a step backwards. So I looked at where we could go and what we could do, and I started planning for my retirement. I started planning on what I was going to do next, and I started looking into real estate as being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And that's kinda how I found my way of what I wanted to do next, and, when I was researching careers, I was like, "Man, that's a pretty good way to help people," and especially veterans, because I'll be honest, man, whenever I bought my first house, I bought it when I was 20 years old, and I had no idea what I was doing,
Yeah.
and the person that helped me was an agent, but he was also a veteran.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And so he took me under his wing and he
Okay.
showed me what the steps were and how the process worked and kind of explained all that stuff to me. So I looked back and I was like, man, I forgot about him, not intentionally, but I forgot that had happened in my life. And I was like, oh man, well, I'm kind of going on that path now too. Well, I can help these people, that don't really know or, that have been misled before or, in any of those other cases. So I was like, let me try this out. Let me see how it'll work. So I started planning for that. Like I said, about 2 years out from me actually retiring, I started planning for retirement. Um, and it just so happened that I found a place to work up there near Fort Hood, my final duty station, and they were looking to expand down here in Houston.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm looking to move back down to Houston.
I
Yeah.
So
manifested that shit right
Yeah,
yeah,
he
there.
did.
yeah. So I got in, and I got in at the right time. I talked to the right people, and my broker, he's a good dude, veteran owned company. It's a veteran led company. A lot of things we do is tied in with veterans. It's not only veterans, but everyone that works for my brokerage is either a veteran or has some sort of connection, whether it be a spouse, a family member, or something to a veteran. So it's good.
It's pretty cool.
That's what's up. Yeah,
So why don't
man.
you tell us about that agency a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So it's actually called Home Vets Realty. It's based out of Killeen, right there outside of Fort Hood. We have about 35 agents now throughout the state of Texas, and we're up from Waco down to Corpus Christi out to Houston. So I'm kind of running the Houston office here. I have about 4 agents outside of myself that are working the Houston area with us, and we try to focus on helping veterans, like I said, helping to understand the VA home loan process because it's confusing. It's
Mhm.
confusing to a lot of people. Most of the public, they don't buy a house but once every 5, 6, 10, once in a lifetime maybe.
Yeah.
That's how it is for most people. Whereas me and the other people that I work with, my other agents, um, we're in this every day. So we understand the process. So that's why it's important to have somebody that's there to help you and help explain the stuff and kind of navigate those waters with you because that stuff changes all the time. It changes daily on some instances.
And then like getting advice and like taking as a veteran getting advice from another veteran, I feel like it's more of a trusting word than anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of my carryover is. Majority of the people that I was able to help, last year, they were all people that have known me for 10, 12, 15 years
Yeah.
because they knew how I operated when I was in the military. They knew what my values held and what my word held and how I hold myself accountable for those actions. So
That's what's up.
What's like a common misconception about veterans and the VA home loan that you get? Like most common question.
The most common question that people get with VA home loan is that they can only use it once, which is not the truth, or that there's a cap on it. There's a certain cap on it. So the way that people read the certificate of eligibility is what it's called from the VA. It actually has a number on there of what you're eligible for, and that number is nonsense because it's like For most people, it's like 128,000 and some change. Well, no one's buying a house for 128,000. It's actually
Not in
just
Pearland. Yeah.
yeah, not around here. Not around here at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just an arbitrary. It's not arbitrary number. It's a number used for a math problem to show you what you are eligible for. The actual loan limits are decided by the county that you live in throughout the United States.
Oh,
I didn't know
that's
that. That's the
Yeah.
first time I heard
interesting.
that.
And
Yeah.
that's the government county loan limit that you're referring to, because the VA home loan program is a government entity, I would say. So it's just kind of similar to the FHA.
So you got out, you retired in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
You take any downtime, man? Or you just went right into work?
No, I went right into work. I actually started working right as I was transitioning and doing all my out processing. So I started working in January of 2022, and I started terminal leave in March of 2022.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually out processing at the time when I was starting a new career. So no, I didn't necessarily take any downtime.
You regret it?
No,
Yeah.
no, because I took enough downtime. I would say
Getting ready for it?
getting ready for it. I had prepared myself mentally. Like,
Yeah.
I'd prepared financially, I'd prepared myself mentally, I had prepared my family for it. So I think that's probably the most important thing that I did at the end of my career, is take that time to actually prepare myself. And we did these things. And it's funny because me and my family do crazy things sometimes, right? We did these things at the beginning of 2021, right as the new year hit. My wife was like, "Hey, let's do this vision board or whatever," right? So yeah, hey, and so we divided it up in 4 sections, and like one was like self, one was like family, one was like career, and one was like future goals or whatever. And I remember I put on there on that little board, and it was just something fun to do with the kids, right? Something to keep them motivated, something giving them some
It's
goals.
for the kids, completely just for the kids.
No, but you know what?
Go ahead to finish the story.
It turned out like I actually used it. Right?
That's right, you did.
It turned out I actually used it because the thing that I wrote on there was learn how to leave the army, like learn how to leave.
Yeah.
And that was super important for me. It was so critical to my mental state and being able to transition into working with people that are non-military. That's what impacted me the most.
I feel you. I think, man, when I was getting out, I did everything the exact opposite of what you said.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared. I just wanted to. I was one of those guys who was like, man, I'm just gonna wing it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for that transition. And I became dependent on alcohol and drugs and crime.
Yeah, and that's
But we still
super
got the
common.
crime to do with.
Yeah, I got rid of most of it. Yeah.
But that's common though, man. That's what I see a lot of people do, and I didn't want to be that guy.
That's good, man.
And I think that's why one of the biggest recommendations is to, not jump into a hiring process or not jump into the next job, because a lot of us aren't preparing, and we know that about each other.
Yeah.
So if you do prepare, or if you are preparing, I think it would probably be totally okay to jump right into what it is you want to do, especially if you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's got to be the right fit.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, when shit, man, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Sell crack. Go back to stripping. No, I'm just like,
yeah. And I actually, I got a lot of advice from the guys that were retiring around me, because as I got older, and the guys that I was working with, they were all older too. They're a few years older than me, and they were retiring ahead of me, and I could see it. And I'm like, okay, this guy did this, this guy did this, this guy did this, and the common advice I got was, obviously, look at your medical stuff, make sure that's in order.
Yeah, man.
And then 2, take some time off. And I was like, okay, how can I take some time off without taking some time off? Right? Because that's the key. Like, yeah, I don't want to stop working, but I don't want a gap. But how can I take some time off without taking some time off? Right? And the funny thing was because I had prepared so much to retire. Like, I had prepared an exit strategy. Man, I took a lot of terminal leave. A lot. So by the time I got out, I was still, reaping those daily benefits from being active duty, but I was not wearing a uniform.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I got you.
it was one of those things where it was like I was able to use those vacation days to pad my
Yeah,
transition. So
man.
it was good.
That's good. That's good. But you're young still, though, man. So like
Yeah.
I know you were retired with a bunch of old heads, huh?
Yeah.
And they had to been hating a little bit, huh?
No, no. You know what? Some of the guys that I retired with, they're same age group as me.
Yeah.
A lot of them were they're a little bit older, in mid 40s.
You know what? Now, okay, so I guess that has to do with 9/11 again,
Yeah.
because everybody came in fresh 18, 19, 20, 20 years old.
Mm.
Yeah.
And now it's like 20 years later, 20 something years later, and
Yeah.
guys are getting out.
Oh, you're talking about for you, the guys that were getting out were in before 9/11, huh? By the time you retired.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason everybody was in, was because of 9/11.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then you had some of the old heads that went to the Gulf War and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like some of the guys that retired ahead of me, they were in pre 9/11, and I mean a few years like 1999, even 1995. There was a few guys that stayed after me that had been in a few years before me too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, right?
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah. So man, it's crazy though, man.
But yeah,
And
to get to say that, yeah, I'm still pretty young. I just
yeah.
turned a fresh 39. So
Dang, for real? That's what's up.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
funny to
dope,
think
though.
that, man, because when
Yeah.
I talk to people and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a real estate agent." "Oh, okay, okay, cool. What'd you do before?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm retired." And they're like, "Retired?
Yeah,
What do you mean retired?"
you get the same look
Yeah,
from
I get that
everybody,
look from
right?
everybody like,
Yeah,
"Retired? What do you mean you're
yeah,
retired?"
yeah.
Like, this is second career.
A
Man,
second
it's
career, yeah.
yeah, it's almost like, looking at those, guys in the sports and football and basketball and stuff, retiring at 25, 28, whatever, 30.
Yeah.
Be like, "Oh, yeah, man, yeah, my body just got too far down the road. It's
At
time to
25,
time to
28
hang
years old, yeah.
time to hang up the
Yeah, yeah.
boots."
Yeah.
I'm not even 30, my body's falling apart.
Yeah, man.
That's craziness. Hey, Jesus, I forgot what I was gonna say.
So good. How did you prepare for flights, as a pilot, like mentally, physically? And have you taken any of that routine and used it today?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the funny thing is about being a pilot and a warrant officer on the Army side is, you kinda have that freedom to maneuver on your own, right? Like, no one's there to tell you that you need to do PT because, you don't really have to show up at 6:30 in the morning. Sometimes you do, a lot of times I did.
All the warrants I met with never showed up.
Yeah, I've never seen a
Yeah.
warrant at PT.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's how it would be, but that didn't mean that it wasn't happening,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So, initially when I first became a warrant, I got to the duty station down at Fort Hood, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, I don't really have to show at the PT show, man. I'll sleep in till 8 o'clock in the morning. Get up, get ready, go to work, do whatever I had to do." And then it got to the point where I was like, "Man, yeah, I can't keep doing this. I gotta get back to PT because I knew who I was, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, 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 that's not really me. So I got back to PT, right? Got it on my own, do my own routine, and was able to build that way. But as far as your question is to prepare for flights, that was part of that. Like that's a huge part of that. In flight school, they taught you not only how to, not obviously not only how to fly, but it was about the body and the mind and how to control those things so that you can be at peak performance for that mission set.
Right.
And being in that cockpit is a lot like, you know, almost like driving a car, but driving a car, you kind of get used to it, right? Flying, you can get used to it, but there's so many things that are happening at one time that if you are not focused, it can turn bad very quickly.
Mm.
So having that sleep pattern, right? Everyone needs 8 hours of sleep, right? No, not everybody needs 8 hours of sleep. What you need in sleep is different than what I need in sleep and what you need in sleep, right?
I don't sleep.
Yeah. And yeah, no sleep is not good though. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
So they teach you how to kind of stay at a controlled pace, That's how I think about it. Not like I need to sleep more so that I can be well rested for this particular event. But if I, maintain a sleep pattern and I maintain, a healthy diet and, my physical fitness at a steady pattern, my line can kind of go upward at a slower pace, right? And my performance stays level. Whereas if I, stay up all night one night and then, sleep 12 hours the next day and then, go back to a 6 hour rest cycle, then it gets all out of whack, right?
Mhm.
So,
So the consistency,
so consistency in what you're doing is important.
and having your body too, your physical fitness, because I mean, I've never been in a cockpit or fly, but all of your limbs are engaged too, right?
Every single, yeah, every
Yeah,
single limb,
right.
both your eyes, both your ears, obviously you're speaking with your voice, your peripheral vision, your proprioceptive system, meaning like how you feel engagement and movement in your body without moving. So there's a lot of things that are happening.
My brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I don't want to throw too many big words out. They're in there, but
Yeah.
I don't use them all the
No,
time.
yeah. I think that's a thing that for me, what I've learned to appreciate, because I have a friend who's will warrant now.
Yeah.
Blackhawk still okay. So, but and I see all the things that he does. You know, he does a good job of posting and keeping updated. And I'm like, man, they've got all of their entire bodies are engaged, like trying to fly with that.
Yeah, and
Those
that's why I go back
helicopters.
to saying that on the warrant officer side, on the pilot side, it wasn't any easier than when I was enlisted, I would say. Having to maintain all those physical attributes at the same time and then preparing to go to, Afghanistan whenever I did go as a pilot, that's a lot. And then the schedule flips. The schedule flips are hard. And I don't think anybody ever really talks about it, but the schedule flips are hard for a military pilot.
So, what do you mean by schedule flips?
So on a normal week in, normal garrison environment, we're going out to train, right? And we had to have certain amount of hours at night, certain amount of hours using certain systems at night, or flying in the clouds or whatever, right? So if you didn't schedule yourself for a certain flight throughout the week, you'd have to make up the next week. So, like, let's say Monday I would come in and it would be a normal day. I'd have to just catch up on some paperwork or whatever I was doing. Tuesday I'd have a night flight.
Mm,
So I'd have to come in at like, 1700.
wow.
So I could prepare my aircraft, so I could
Mhm.
prepare, my other crew member and be ready to go as soon as the sun hit. Because as soon as the sun went down, it was time to go fly. And we go out for, one or two rounds of flying, whether it be 3 hours at a time or 2.5 hours at a time. So there'd be nights I'd fly like 5 hours. Go out with one person, I'd fly, I'd come back, get gas, drop them off, pick up the next person, and we'd go fly for another 2.5 hours.
Jeez.
And then Wednesday, I would have to come back because I'd have whatever meeting scheduled for like 1300
For whatever meeting.
for whatever meeting, right? Or whatever nonsense or training or, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like that consistently for a long time. Like I would have, or I'd fly 2 nights back to back. Okay, cool. Thursday, I'd have to come back in, or whatever. Friday, we'd have a pilot class, and I'd have to be back in at 1300 on Friday.
And this is while you're deployed, right?
No,
No,
sir.
this is all
No,
garrison?
sir. This is garrison environment.
Jeez.
So while you're deployed is a little bit different. It's not like that. It's not as rough. And the reason why it's not as rough is because you got to stay on with a certain mission set, right? So you get in with this mission set and you'll stay there for, 2 to 3 months at a time. And then they're like, okay, hey, let's rotate some of these guys off of nights and put them back on days so they can see some sunlight and so they can reset their bodies, right? Because it takes toll.
Yeah.
Takes a toll. So we'd go on nights for 2-3 months at a time, and then come off for a month, and then go back into nights. So
Right.
Yeah.
Most of your operations are at night, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
It's gotta mess with your body big time, man. My apologies. Keep on leaving, man. We got some family shit going
that's
on.
all good, brother.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. Family's always out there.
I'll dock that from your pay. Oh, I'll dock that from your allowance.
His allowance.
He's muted.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, it was challenging, man, to say the least. Like I said, you're using all of your body systems, right? And
Mhm.
it's funny because uh, most people know the Apache. They have a little eyepiece, right? And so with that eyepiece, you look through there and you see video, a FLIR image video on one eye, and so you're flying essentially into pitch black with one eye, but your other eye is still able to see regular. So you see lights and reflections and other things like that. And so I didn't realize it, but I'd seen somebody, they had posted a video and it was similar to they put a camera up in the cockpit and their eyes were doing two different things at the
Ooh,
same
yeah.
time.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I
Damn.
didn't realize that I was doing that. And then I started to notice it and I was like, what is going on? It's crazy.
Dang.
Yeah. It's intense.
That's crazy.
I think that's cool because it's again the scene that not a lot of us can experience,
Yeah.
right? Or I mean, just, I'm sure there's can't be too many of y'all out there walking around. You know,
Yeah, there's quite a few. On paper, there's about I wanna say there's about 700 of us at a time active.
dang.
I didn't think it was that many.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty big. Not too big, but pretty big.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned too about your family a little bit. How has that transition from active duty to back home treated you?
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit before we came on.
Yeah, so I think that, man, I was telling, William here that I think it's good, and I know you asked, like, coming back to Pearland, Alvin area,
Yeah,
is it was it a choice? And, I think it was a choice, and I think it was the right choice
that's
for a
good,
lot of
man.
reasons. As with all of us and all service members, you have that point where you're missing out on something, right? You're missing out on someone's birthday or someone's
Oh
wedding
yeah,
or your grandparents' anniversary or whatever it is, right? You know what I mean? So having that ability to come back home and be a part of that day to day and be able to attend those events is really good for us. And having my kids being able to grow up or finish growing up. I got a 19-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. So they're pretty grown for the
Yeah.
most part, but
yeah.
having my son continue to grow up and my daughter to continue to make those connections with her cousins and her grandparents and her aunts and uncles and all those things. That's super important to me. It's super important for them to get back to family and being able to see that and being able to see the connections that we have because me and my wife both grew up in the area, so we had those connections and then we left and we made our own
Mhm.
family rituals and our own family, ethics and things that we did when we were just us four. So now we get to bring those things that we did as four back to the rest of the family that's here.
Yeah.
And it's fun, man. It's fun. I was telling William, like my day consists of most of the time my day consists of starting out in the gym in the morning.
Mhm.
And me and my wife, we've been going to the gym for a long time. We try to live healthy lifestyles. We try to, maintain our physical fitness. So when we're old, like we can walk around. That's really the goal, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to be able to be, 75, 80, 90 years old and walk around unassisted that's a huge goal for me at least. So now we're bringing that back here. And my day consists of starting out with the workout in the morning. And that workout in the morning has now blossomed into a workout group. So it's not just me and my wife, it's me and my wife and my sister-in-law. And then now my father-in-law is included in that. And then my oldest niece is included in that.
Yeah.
And then now, every now and then my ex-brother-in-law, he'll show up too. And so we're all in the gym at the same time. And I look around and I'm like, man, my family's taking up half this gym. This is
Y'all
That's what's
doing the
up.
same routine?
not necessarily always the same
Oh, okay,
routine,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we rotate around and we talk to each other and like, hey, well, why don't you try it like this or do this exercise or
Yeah,
oh no, you're doing
that's
that
what's
one
up.
wrong. Like, try and lift it like this.
That's good though, man, to
Man,
have
I tell
that
you,
that
yeah.
reassurance and somebody correcting you. Because I think that's my biggest fear in going into a big gym is doing something and looking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, "Hey, bro, you're backwards." "Oh, shit, my bad."
Yeah, that happens for a lot of people,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, you should come join the family workout. You can come out
There
there
you
with
go.
us, man. I got you. But
Yeah.
no, and that's part of that family connection that I'm glad we're back to being able to do. And my both my kids work out too. Both my kids are highly active people, and they do their own thing for the most part. But my daughter, she did gymnastics for a long time, so she's a physically fit person. My son, he's a football player since he was 4 years old. He's a physically fit person.
Yeah,
So as a family, we always had that. As a family, we always had that get outside and go do something
that's good.
mentality.
It's good for the mental health, man. Not
Yeah.
just physical, mental is good.
Yeah. And that's important to us.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. It's that's something that we stress all the time. Your mental health.
Oh yeah, love mental health. I think physical health goes into mental health. Speaking of mental health, if you guys are out there and you find us and you're struggling, make sure you dial 988. And if you're a military veteran, press 1. 988, press 1. That is the mental health crisis hotline. You can message or you can text it if you like. Yeah, I've gotten random texts sometimes from guys like, hey, how do I get involved? And I'm like, well, how far along are they? Here's a resource for them. At the very least, this is always a number you can call.
Yeah, and like we stress and stress that if you're struggling with something and you need help, reach out for help, regardless of what the situation is. If you're having, um, I want to say mental issues or your mental health needs some repairing, reach out for help. If you're struggling with addiction, depression, it doesn't matter. Someone's been there, and it takes a strong person to ask for help when they need it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what I also hear you saying too is like finding the group. We're always talking about the veteran community, and it's like getting involved. But it's nice to see you as well, like leading by the example. And now that you and your wife are going to the gym, you're attracting other people with you as well, your family, and that physical health affects your mental health as well. When we know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And most importantly, like I was telling you earlier, my father-in-law, he's elderly now. I mean, he's almost 75.
Oh, and he's still getting down with you?
Well, it's getting back to getting down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. For a long time he wasn't physically active.
Yeah.
And trying to get him back into movement and doing those things. And that means a lot to me that he can look to me and my wife
Yeah.
and my sister-in-law now and like, hey, how do I do this? And he's going there and doing these things to get back, his mobility, because that's really what it's about. Once you get to that point, you're trying to maintain that mobility more so than, I mean, trying to build big old guns, right?
Yeah.
You ain't trying to do that at 75. So
I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. I forgot what we were doing the other day when I was talking to somebody and somebody goes, yeah, man, he's not old. He's not like in his 40s. And I was
oh
Oh
shit.
yeah,
I don't know who you are,
that
but
was
you're about
those
to get
guys on the other podcast.
Oh, it was. We had some guys recorded a podcast in
Yeah.
the podcast studio. They were like, yeah, he's not old. He's not 40. I was like, you little motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. But see, that's why it's important to be like that. When
Yeah.
you're 40, be like, oh, you're 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 40, but I'm jacked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's funny, man.
Yeah, man.
so yeah.
It's funny. What lessons has the military taught you? Because you're a year now, right? Just
Yeah.
about. What kind of leadership lessons can you share with the audience that's taught you with building this company or this brand of yours that you're trying to start up here?
Man, I'll tell you, I learned a long time ago about leadership and what it means and how to, you remember that old definition of motivation, getting someone, giving them purpose, direction, and motivation, or leadership, I would say. The definition of leadership,
Yeah.
giving them purpose, direction, and motivation to do what you want them to do without them knowing.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I have heard that one.
That's-
Yeah,
Yes.
I haven't heard it in a long time. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You bring it back memories. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, I
almost locked up. Yeah.
Exactly,
It
right?
smells weird in here. I start smelling like sand.
So I learned a long time ago that if you want to do that, there's really only one key, man. It's super easy. Listen to the person. Like listen to who they are, what it is that motivates them, and how you can help them get to that end state and that goal. So to me, it was super easy to transition to that because man, I learned that whenever I was like 20, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago, man. So I listen to people and I like to listen to what it is that they need, what it is that they want, and how they want to get there. And then all I do is I just come in as as the person to put it on paper and say, okay, well, you need to do steps A, B, and C, and we're going to be good to go.
Mhm.
That's it.
Man.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
No, he does. He does.
I mean, that's
Shit,
what I
man.
do when I've told you I've done some coaching here and there, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm listening, trying to hear what it is you say, and then speak it back to you. Like, okay, well, let's go with this plan instead. Oh, this is what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
You know, is that right? You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like,
Yeah, and
sweet.
that, you know, that technique is super key to doing that is you listen and then you just repeat back like, this is what I'm hearing you say, just like you've been doing. This is what I hear you're saying, and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
my
yeah,
secrets are out.
yeah. I mean, and I think that you know, the roles that I was put in the military definitely helped me do that. So you know, I was put in every position from a young squad leader to a platoon sergeant, and then when I became a warrant officer, I was an uh, not a leader on paper, but I was looked at, you know, by the soldiers.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Because,
definitely.
you know, and I said it earlier, is there at the end, I was able to affect more because I was able to move into a position where I was, you know, looking after the care of 250 soldiers, enlisted soldiers, and the decisions I made on a daily basis affected their day every day. So, you know, if I came in and I was, you know, pissed off for whatever reason, and you know that made them have a bad day, and
Yeah.
it took me some time to step back and say, you know what, can't always be like that. You know, sure they messed up, but at the end of the day, as long as they did what they're supposed to do, or at least attempted to do what they're supposed to do, then I can't be mad at them.
That's what's up.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like that, man.
Yeah, well, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I don't know what I'm saying. It's been a great conversation. I think we could definitely get so much value from this. As you know, Charlie Mike means continue mission. So my final question to you would be, what does Charlie Mike mean to you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that after listening to some of the other shows already, right? So I came with notes. Nah, no. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, you know what? It's not just words, and it's not just, you know, something you do. It's a skill. To me, it's a skill. And the reason why it's a skill is because it's that ability to put down what just happened and move on to what's next. Now, that could be a lot of different things for a lot of different people, right? So in the military, it's easy. Like, sure, Charlie Mike, like that mission set's done, moving on to the next mission set. You know, as a pilot, it would be like, okay, cool, we're done with that, you know, reconnaissance mission. Now we're moving on to this, you know, attack mission or whatever it is, right? Um, but Charlie Mike is a lot. It's a skill that everybody could use, right? It's a skill that, you know, could just mean putting on your shoes and getting out of bed. It could be, you know, taking that instead of calling into work sick, it's actually putting your shoes on and going to work, right?
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where I think everybody can benefit from the saying, but it's a skill that is also learned. Like, I don't think it's something that you're born with. I don't think it's something that everybody knows, right? Like, you know, with my kids and your kids, like you're still trying to teach them those skills
Yeah.
and teaching them those skills to be able to be good people in life and be successful people in life. And that's part of that. Having that Charlie Mike mentality is part of that.
Man, that was you win.
Yeah.
Hey, and tell him what he won, William.
One free
Nah,
shirt.
bro.
I lied. One free promo code.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's great. I think we've been heading down that path. We've had some really great definitions. That's pretty up there. I'm like,
Yeah, man, that's
I'm
definitely
gonna put that on the t-shirt, dude. Charlie Mike skills.
Man. So, man, we really want to appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
and chilling, chatting with us,
Yeah.
man.
What's one way folks can follow you and make sure, calls to action? Like how can they get in touch with you if they're looking for a home? How can they follow you on your socials? Tell us.
All right. Yeah. Great. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. It's Andrew Sells Real Estate. It's SELLS. And then you can also find me at my website. It's www.andrewsellsrealestate.com.
Yeah.
They got me a little .com
There
going
you
on.
go. There you
Nice.
go.
I have my business cards out there everywhere I can. I have a couple other products that I leave everywhere that I can. But that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can hit me up on Messenger, hit me up on my website. You can register and get directly in contact with me. My email's everywhere, all over my social media. My phone number is there on social media.
I know.
So
It's always funny sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, am I really putting this out there?
yeah, and it's funny because I get all kinds of calls now, but yeah, it's out there, man. It's out there for anybody that wants it. And my most important the most important thing for me is helping people. It's helping them figure out how they can gain a little bit of wealth through purchasing real estate or selling real estate. A lot of the people that I've helped over the last year and some change, they have made some pretty big money off of real estate and have changed their lives because of that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking like upwards of $100,000
Mm.
off of the real estate that they own.
Hmm.
So, you take that and you put that with anybody, and maybe not these people to make millions and millions of dollars is $100,000 a lot, but for most of us, that's a big amount of money.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
That's a big amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't no chump change. I
Yeah.
like it. I could spend it.
Yeah, right?
Easy.
Wait, he's got you. He's got you.
We're on our way.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what those microphones look like afterwards.
Man.
Gold plated.
Gold plated, yeah, for real.
It's got my name right here.
They're
across the
floating in
way.
the air.
Right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Dang. Hey, but I got a couple of call to actions myself, man. For one, I want to tell you guys, if you aren't following my man William, be sure to follow him on all his social media platforms. That's Facebook, IG, TikTok, and it's at
W. Garay Jr. That's WGARAY JR.
Hey, for all his daily motivational videos, so y'all be sure to check that out, man. It's very inspiring, and he's only getting better. And my last thing I want to say is, you guys, do me a favor and check on somebody today.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be a veteran. Check on your family members. Check on your friend, your neighbor. Just say, hey, you okay? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm asking. What you got, William?
Nah, man. Again, Andrew, I really want to appreciate you, acknowledge you for what you're doing, man. I think there's a friendship growing here, maybe. I'd like to see you out there in the community. I know we've had lunch a couple of times, and I want to thank you for really bringing it today. You were fully here, you were present, man, and this was a phenomenal conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me again.
Yeah, man, you definitely got to come back. All right.
Yeah, I will.
Hey, and again, I apologize for stepping out. I
All
had a
good.
couple things, man.
I'll handle it.
Hey.
Wrestling match.
As always, you guys be sure to Charlie Mike.